And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we're going to talk about a couple things, some broadcasting changes. Jason Kelce, he's going to be joining Monday Night Countdown this upcoming season. And we're also going to get into discussing what CBS did, parting ways with Boomer Esiason and Phil Simms, and now bringing in Matt Ryan. Well, Matt Ryan was already with CBS. He was doing games for them last year, but now he's going to be a part of that crew, as well as J.J.Watt, who also made some appearances last year as well. So, first with Jason Kelce. So, he's making the most of his retirement, okay? He's going to be joining ESPN's Monday Night Countdown this upcoming season. He expressed his excitement of the opportunity on the New Heights podcast that, of course, he does with Travis Kelce, his brother. He described the potential opportunity as a tremendous honor and reminisced about growing up watching ESPN with his brother, Travis Kelce, who plays, of course, for the Kansas City Chiefs. And he just got a pay raise. Now, ESPN declined to comment on Kelce's potential role. At least that was the article I was looking at. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. And, I mean, you kind of figure, I mean, he's joining Monday Night Countdown. So, I mean, he's going to be there in some capacity. Now, is he going to be with them when they go to the games and they're doing pregame, or is he going to be, elsewhere and they're going to contact him and he's going to do a segment? Like, how is that all going to work? But either way, he's going to be joining Monday Night Countdown. I mean, I would imagine he's going to be there at the game, when they do the come on, man. Do they still? I'll be honest. Lately, because of my schedule, I really I don't watch these pregame shows as much as I used to. I mean, they still do come on, man, right? I mean, it doesn't hit the same because it's not, Chris Berman and those guys doing it, but yeah, so Jason Kelce, he's going to be joining Monday Night Countdown in some capacity. I would imagine it's going to be how it is where they're at the games and, breaking down the matchups and all that. So I imagine that's what it's going to be. But if not, then again, he's going to be there in some capacity. And look, I mean, ESPN, they're trying to, like, you see what they've done with First Take. I mean, they brought over Shannon Sharp, and, they got Christopher Mad Dog Russo also on one day. And then you see, well, also the other thing, too, is them bringing Pat McAfee into the fold and having him simulcast his show on the network. They're trying to bring in big names because, there was a time where, I mean, well, back in the day, it was a star-studded cast. But then things kind of changed over the years, and, ESPN wasn't doing as well. So they needed to, get themselves back on the right track. And they've been bringing in big names. And Jason Kelce is a big name. And he's a rising star in the broadcasting business. And he's got the podcast with Travis Kelce, of course, and they do a nice job. I pop in from time to time and watch some clips and segments, and also depending on a guest that they have on, maybe I want to hear something that they have to say on their show. And like I said, they do a good job. But I know there's that group of people that aren't that enthusiastic about Jason Kelce joining Monday Night Countdown, and also what's going on over at CBS as well. Because it's kind of like Jason Kelce just got this job very easily because of the name, because he's a former player, rather than you're putting in the work to get this opportunity. Now, I think Jason Kelce has put in the work because I feel like it's not like he doesn't have any experience, broadcasting. Now, again, it's going to be a little different as opposed to doing a podcast. Now you're on a pregame show. But I feel like the podcast puts a lot of work into that. They have guests on. They talk to guests from time to time. So I think he does have experience and he is putting in the work. Now, yeah, you're getting it immediately, this opportunity immediately after you retire. I understand that. But, and I know that Also, some people are just tired of hearing about the Kelces, particularly Travis because of who he's involved with when you're talking about his relationship status. But, I think Jason Kelce is a smart football mind, and I think he's going to bring something to the table joining Monday Night Countdown. And it's not just because he's a Kelce. He's one of the best centers of all time. Thankfully, as a Giant fan, don't have to face him anymore. One of the really the only Eagles players I had respect for, honestly. And I did watch his retirement speech, and it was pretty sad because he doesn't want to retire, but he had to. So I think Jason Kelce is going to bring something to the table here. I know there's some people that may not believe that. I'm in the camp of I think he will, because I think he is a smart football mind, and he does have. Again, you could call the podcast whatever you want. I think that has to be some experience there. Now, again, New Heights hasn't been around forever, but you got some experience there. So I think he is going to bring something to the table. I think he's going to be good. But I do understand where people are coming from, where it's like, well, there's other people that may have wanted this opportunity and they've dedicated their whole lives to getting to that point, and you're just giving it to someone that just recently retired. Now, this can apply with CBS as well, because they let go of, they parted ways with Boomer Esiason and Phil Simms. And now Matt Ryan and J.J.Watt are going to be joining Nate Burleson, James Brown, and Bill Cowher. And Boomer Esiason, he's been on NFL Today forever. Since I started watching football. Even before I started watching football. He's been at CBS for years. Same thing with Phil Simms. Now, I feel bad more so for Phil Simms because he used to do games with Jim Nantz. It was him and Jim Nantz. They were calling Super Bowls. They were calling all these big games. And then all of a sudden, Tony Romo retires. CBS pays him, and they remove Phil Simms. They put him on NFL Today, back in the studio. Romo gets the games. Romo's now calling AFC Championship games and Super Bowls, all these big matchups. And he just retired. Had no prior broadcasting experience whatsoever, but they just threw him in. And has Romo done a great job? Yes, but I think people are starting to get a little tired of him too. Again, the way my schedule is and where I'm at when I'm watching games nowadays, I'm not really listening to the commentary. So, when I was at school, we were watching Red Zone the whole time. So we were bouncing back and forth from games, so we're not really watching Tony Romo call a game. But when Romo first broke in, he was great. He was predicting everything, and people loved that. But now I think people are starting to get a little tired of that. But still, Phil Simms was with Jim Nantz. They removed him. They put him on NFL Today, and now he's just out entirely. So I kind of feel bad for him. Because at least with Boomer Esiason, now again, I don't know what Phil Simms is currently doing besides NFL Today. I'd have to look into it. Because I don't know if Boomer Esiason has his radio show. And I did listen to what he had to say about it. And he said the writing was on the wall when they were at the Super Bowl, because CBS did the Super Bowl. And he felt like this was going to be it. Because now, this was because their contracts expired. They didn't just get rid of them. Because that's what I thought initially. I thought that they just kicked them out and Matt Ryan and J.J.Watt took over. But their contracts were up and they didn't renew them. So that's what ended up happening there. But Boomer Esiason said that he had a feeling this was going to be it. He didn't really say any. It was more of their decision than it was his. So I think he wanted. I think both of them, of course, wanted to come back. But I think CBS was like, no, we're going to go in a different direction. So, but Boomer Esiason still has his radio show, and he signed an extension with them. So that's all well and good on that front. But Yeah, Boomer Esiason and Phil Simms, they were staples there for a long time at that network, and they just let him go. Not renewing the contract. You're bringing in Matt Ryan, who was in the booth with, I think, Andrew Catalong and Tiki Barber. I know he was definitely with Tiki. But yeah, that was a three-man booth there. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really listen to a lot of Matt Ryan's commentary. I know, like, from like the little clips that I've watched, I don't think he's bad. I don't think him or J.J.Watt are bad. I think that they have stuff to bring to the table. But again, I do understand why there's people out there that aren't happy about it, because again, you got former players that they just call it a career, and immediately they get picked up by these networks. And another former player that is pretty well known, going to be a Hall of Famer, the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady. Tom Brady's going to be calling games with Kevin Burkhardt next year on Fox. Now, he does a podcast on SiriusXM, but now you're going to be a color guy in the booth for Fox. How is that going to be? Now, Tom Brady, another brilliant football mind. How is he going to translate to that? I mean, I think he's going to be like fine. I don't know how great he's going to be. But again, who am I to judge? I'm doing a show in my bedroom talking about this. So who am I to judge that? But again, I know people have their doubts. But again, Tom Brady just retired. Well, first full year not playing, and he's hinting at, maybe coming back late in the season. So, I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. I'll believe it when I see it. But he's going to be calling games next year. So how is that going to be? And he's kicking out another former player in Greg Olsen, who's been doing games with Burkhardt. Greg Olsen's not going to be there. And I like Greg Olsen. I think Greg Olsen does a good job. But it's Tom Brady, so sorry, Greg. And if you remember Burkhardt and Olsen, I mean, they weren't the A team at Fox. It was Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Once they left and went to ESPN, that's another thing with ESPN. I forgot to mention them. They got them doing the Monday night games now. More stars. Then Burkhardt and Greg Olsen, they slid up to the A team, and they called the Super Bowl between the Eagles and the Chiefs, the Kelce Bowl. So, yeah, it's just again, it's a hard business, and it's a business that I'm trying to get into, and many others are, but yeah, it's tough because you got these media conglomerates that make tough decisions. They let go of guys that put in the work and really worked hard, and they just let them go like that. But you look at it as well, maybe they want to go younger. Now, again, that might not be a good reason, because if you're still doing a good job, it's really about the job that you're putting in. If you're not doing a good job, yeah, that makes sense, but you can't just do it based off of age. But I guess they want something fresh. So, but I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, I'm look, where I'm at right now, like I said, I'm not religiously watching these pregame shows like I used to. But I'm in the camp of, yeah, did you really have to make a change? But that's just me. And I understand both sides of it. But I agree with the fact that these players, they just retire. They have no experience, some of them, and these media conglomerates just pick them up. But again, it's because of the names. Jason Kelce's a name. J.J.Watt's a name. Matt Ryan's a name. These are great players. And we talked about Matt Ryan and him recently retiring and whether he's a Hall of Famer or not. But had some great seasons. Was a solid quarterback. And then you got Tom Brady, of course, who's the greatest of all time. So yeah, of course you're going to pick these guys up. You want to have them talk about their experiences and break down stuff that goes on in games. You want to hear their perspectives. And look at Peyton Manning and Eli Manning. Now, I know Peyton had a better career. And listen, his second Super Bowl, it was carried by the Broncos defense. But they're so popular with the Manning cast. And people have their issues with that too. But, you know, they love to see. I like to see Peyton break down things. Now, the Manning cast, I want to watch the game. So when Peyton starts doing that, it's like, okay, well, because there are times they'll cut away from the game and you're like, I kind of want to see what's going on in the game over here, Peyton. Sorry. But, yeah, those are two other guys that are broadcasters now. Now, not the traditional way, but in their own way. And they do a great job with that. But it's because you get to see these guys break down plays, and you get their perspectives too. Their names. And I mean, those are two guys I grew up watching. So, I mean, Peyton's career started, before I was born, but still, I mean, I saw a large portion of his career still. But yeah, I went off on this topic a little longer than I expected, but let me know what you guys think about all these moves with these media conglomerates. Jason Kelce joining Monday Night Countdown, as well as what CBS did. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. So before we go to break, just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is GSMCPodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is GSMCPodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So when we come back from our second break of the show, we are going to talk about the Bears. We'll talk about Jalen Johnson, the cornerback of the Bears, clarifying his comments that he made earlier in the offseason about Caleb Williams. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.